Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our next presentation. Today we are joined by Tatiana Nikitina and Merrick Taskar, and they will be speaking about navigating academic choices, clustering among collegiate athletes, and it's a case study. I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As was mentioned, this is Tatiana, and my name is Marek. And today we are going to try to introduce you to our case study about navigating academic choices, specifically clustering amongst collegiate athletes. So, a little bit about us. I am graduate research assistant. I am in my second semester of master's at Troy University.
My name is Tatiana Nikitina. I am currently a PhD student at Collegiate State University, and my research focus is actually on intercollegiate athletics and higher education. I'm looking at the intersection to better understand what's happening with our system currently. So one of the things that I want to start with is I think most of us is actually aware, but we definitely want to focus on that a little bit more. So the NCAA was founded in 1996, 1906. So to combat brutality in football, which led to death and death of student athletes. One of the things that's happened is that NCAA evolved to legal, social, and economic to work with the legal, social, and economic pressure of the student athletes. Uh, as we all know, that it's been challenging for NCAA for the last 80 years since it's began to what is due and how it's going to govern. One of the first things that we learn and we know is that our faculty and staff was not always very happy with in athletics at universities. One of the things that they saw is preferential treatment to student athletes, to providing them with extra support, to accepting student athletes who may be a little bit lower on the academic scale that's making that curve, but they would be performing athletically incredibly. So originally, we can see that NCAA, NCAA and the faculty was pushing to say the student athletes are not real scholars, that they here to play sport. And NCAA was starting implementing rules to actually combat that idea, combat that particular view on the student athletes, which currently we see is the NCAA reporting the highest rate for graduation of student athletes in the last, I'll say, decade. Can I have the next one? So one of the things that we want to talk about is a clustering. What is academic clustering? Academic clustering refers to phenomena where the student athletes tend to select the same major or group within the same major. And it's often influenced by the factors such as eligibility requirements, class schedule constraints, and the need to balance sport, athletic life, and the academic commitments. So one of the first things that actually was investigate, it was Carnegie Report. Carnegie Report was done in 1929. And one of the things that they was found, and they put a very much highlight of, is commercialization of the college athletics. The report criticized the commercialization of the college athletics, highlighting the financial insensitive in recruitment and further in line to the student athletes to uh, uh, continue playing sport, and it was overshadowing education concerns. Uh, it's also found that preferential treatment to student athletes. and treating athletics more as a business than part of extracurriculum or part of educational programs. The impact on education was also quite interesting. The Carnegie report noted that it was athletic was overemphasized, and education as to student athletes and educational experience, which also could be very interesting because it's conflicted with institutional mission and vision for higher education. We also can see the subsidizing of student athletic by providing them with a financial aid, such as scholarships, stipends, treating the athletic participation more as a job than anything else. And on the other side, they also they think that they took professional system when the athletes practice, they perform, they go to competition, they try to win at all costs and apply it to that particular system, which definitely impacted education because it's not the main mission. So Carnegie report was calling for reform and actually change the athletics to the more academic friendly way. So what's changed and how that Carnegie report is actually influenced what we're seeing right now? The first, there was calling for more structural control environment for student athletes. What does that mean? So there was criticized the lack of oversight to collegiate athletics, which leading for call to structural environment. So right now we actually can see the student athletes has a study table, they have a tutoring support, they also been talking about the well-being of student athlete and student athlete being a part of a community on campus, not only a part of their own team who and going to classes to see other students, but they want them to be a part of the community. There also was the first one who actually shows that the students actually guided to the particular majors. That actually came when NCAA start working on rules and regulations that require students to take a particular credit hours and complete them. As we all know, that's happened actually before NCAA was created. And it was always there moving forward that the student athlete has to be full-time student and has to be performing. So that also was one of the focus. Why is the student athlete start classroom particular majors? Because of different things and really need to keep that eligibility out to be able to perform in sport. And Carnegie report also was looking at the change of recruitment, which essentially is a process how the financial aid was also distributed, because the financial aid always was a part of big part of recruitment that would bring student athlete to particular university. If they have financial aid, they may have a scholarship, they may have some other financial bringing to that.
Okay, so let's talk about college selection process by student athletes. So as we know, when student athletes choose the college, the decision isn't only about college, it's often influenced by multiple factors beyond academics. One of the things that is interesting to mention is quantitative research that was conducted by Nixon in 2020, which highlights key considerations like academic programs availability, coaching quality, athletic opportunities, location, significant influence, and specific communication tactics during the recruitment. Additionally, Party Hall research conducted in 2023 sheds light on the reputation on specific academic majors, and as well as the athletic playing opportunities that the college offers, which also play a critical role. These factors collectively shape the college experience for college athletes and may indirectly contribute to academic clustering. To just give you an idea, if certain majors are known for accommodating athletic schedules or aligning with athletic goals, they may become more attractive to student athletes, influencing their academic paths once they enroll. Another thing to mention to academic clustering in collegiate athletics comes from a study uh, by Fontaine and Finley from 2009, which found that the phenomenon isn't limited to specific sports or academic fields. They observed that even in highly diverse academic programs, clustering often occurs because content majors are perceived as more athlete friendly due to flexible schedules or lower perceived workload, helping student athletes maintain their eligibility. This has led to some majors to be humorously dubbed the athlete majors on campuses, especially in programs like communication studies, sociology, or general studies. This clustering effect also goes beyond academic preference. One study by Scheider, Ross, and Fisher from, I think, 2010 found that some athletes view clustering as a part of their team identity, choosing majors where they can study alongside their teammates. That's why sometimes you find in especially team sports that 20-25% of the team studies one major. This informal majoring together creates a support network, which can be good, right? Because if you don't know, you ask your teammate, somebody that you spend a lot of time with, but also where they can balance studies and sport together, often relying on, once again, if you don't know, you ask your teammate basically during group session or even training, and even professors who are familiar with athletic scheduling needs.
So this data was obtained, the data that we're talking today was obtained from small division one university in Ohio. So the data was quite simple. It includes 5 different factors. It includes gender, sport, college, and academic programs that students currently enroll in. So we had quite a large sample. We had 429 participants. It was pretty good balance with 243 females and 258 males. So it was pretty good. Yes, we still have more males than females, but that was quite nice. We also looked at the chi-square due to our variables. So when we looked at the chi-square, it was incredibly interesting because if the chi-square was significant with a p of 0, or less than 0.001. But when we look at the table, one of the things that was very interesting to see is that total count of students, especially male student athletes, is actually mostly in business. If we're looking on expected count, it's quite smaller than what we actually have there. We have a residual of 30 students. So it's 30 more students there than anybody would expect to. When we're looking at other colleges, and now I want to look at the percentage, we can see is that 45% of male student athletes is actually in business. They are in business school and they are having one of those business majors. While the lower one is actually universal studies, which is our basic studies. When we're looking at the female side, which I also found incredibly interesting, in that particular college, most of the females is in College of Engineering, which is quite not traditional for regular students. And when we look at percentage, it's a 44. It's more than half of our female student athletes is majoring in engineering and actually focusing their studies on that particular aspect, which is quite interesting. The next slide. That's you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, academic clustering often results from the pressure on college athletes to maintain eligibility, right? while balancing rigorous sports schedules. This pressure often leads to clustering in less demanding majors to facilitate balancing athletic but also academic responsibilities. Research shows that academic advisors who report to athletic departments may prioritize eligibility over academic growth, contributing to clustering. This relationship can result in potential conflicts of interest between college athletes and academic success, but also in contrast to their athletic obligations. The role of faculty and their interactions while college athletes is a significant factor. Faculty who engage more with college athletes tend to influence their academic experience positively, which may encourage broader major selections and reduce the clustering. Studies have also noted gender difference in clustering. Female college athletes often face unique academic and social pressures that may and usually it does influence their major choice compared to their male athletic friends. The findings about academic clustering have sparkled discussion about policy changes to support college athletes better, but also it was including enhancing the role of mutual academic advising that is separate from the athletic departments.
So while we talked about academic clustering, Mark already covered most of those things. But one of the things that we also discussed yesterday is who are we relying to? And as we know, most of the student athletes rely on the academic advisor, but academic advisor also report to our coaches and our athletic department. So how does it work? So most of the time, the students would be advised to take a particular major, maybe do more availability of the classes, or working because they have a support there. One of the things that is was really interesting is how as we all know, how that first year student athletes is actually taking a general studies, but they still been assigned a major. They still can change it, but if we're looking at our clustering, it's not a lot of people in the general studies. Most of them has assigned major, most of them pursuing their classes. Looking back at our college selection process, one of the top items that's been used to assess in which college this athlete is going to take is academics. It's availability of the major and degree leading to the good job. So how's those clustering in combination with advising and athletic department work to funnel student athletes to particular majors to the places where they may have a little bit different experience than what they originally anticipated. So another thing, who is might affected. As we all know, the CAA and department has a very particular thing which call the graduation rate that the students actually measured by, as well as GPA. So we know the student that coaches getting bonuses when the team keeping up and actually has a good GPA rate. So one of the thing is um, the academic advisors funnel the students to the particular program because they know they will be having those particular experiences. They will be able to give a GPA. And within all students talking with each other and having support system, it will be easier for them to work through the classes. Which also lead us to conflict of interest. We get advice to take a particular major, to take a particular classes that will keep us eligible, that will give us GPA that's needed. But does it always work with our interest? Does all those male student athletes want to be a business major? Is that something that they came here with? And also, as we see, is that our academic advisor is report to our athletic department. So essentially, it's a straight line there, and they employment depend if they actually able to move a student forward and keep them eligible and provide the team with the needed support. Marek, back to you.
So right now, this is where we are thinking that we would like to follow up on the research that we already did. So first of all, longitudinal approach could track college athletes' academic choices over time, assessing how their choices may change with involving eligibility requirements, personal development, or shifting even athletic responsibilities. Our future research may employ qualitative methods to explore why male athletes gravitate towards College of Business and female athletes towards engineering, providing deeper insight into cultural, social, or maybe even institutional factors at play. An in depth analysis of advising practices, especially comparing those within athletic departments versus general athletic advising, could uncover specific practices that either encourage or mitigate athletic clustering. Also, examining the long term outcomes of clustered majors on career readiness and job placement could provide valuable insight for policymakers interested in balancing academic integrity with athletic success. Also, probably last thing, conducting simulation studies that model the impact of potential policy changes, like its neutral advising, could reveal practical data-backed strategies for minimizing clustering while supporting college athlete academic development. If any of you have any other suggestions or thoughts, please let us know in the comments. We would like to definitely hear that. For our conclusion, as we wrap up this study, it's essential to focus on drafting and refining our ideas. Don't worry too much about the spelling or grammar in your first draft. That's something that can be polished later. But um, starting by using the outline to organize the thoughts and get them down, but also reading what is done out loud that can get us into our better thought process can be very beneficial. Tatiana, if you have some couple words.
I think there's going to be interesting process because we're not only talking about that, this paper, this it's draft for future research. Not only for future research, but also for policymakers that hopefully will be take in account how the student athlete perform, how the student athlete lives look within the college, and what is going on.
All right,
There
right
was
now, if you guys have any questions, please ask us, and we would like to answer whatever you guys have on mind.
If you all don't mind putting those questions either in the chat or in the Q&A, I can read those out to Tatiana and Merrick. And while we wait for those questions to come in, I do have a question for you guys. You talked about policy simulations, and that's super interesting to me. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you imagine that might look, and then how you can use that data and the information you conclude from those simulations really to drive policy within higher education?
I do believe that every research could be influencing what we have as in a policy. The more we know about clustering, which is not a very usual topic for research, the more we know about clustering, how this is happening, what the student feel and think within those processes, would be definitely informing how the new policy is going to be coming in. As we know right now, more student athletes is actually feeling as employees. But how this could affect for not money-making sports? For sports that they have a season right at the beginning of the academic year and maybe right at the end. So they do have this potential amazing opportunity to take the classes. They're not constrained to their particular sport, traveling or competition. So how this could be influenced through the policy to give them opportunity to better access those classes and work with not only academic advisors through athletic department, but also general academic advisors to build a relationship within a college and potentially explore the different majors that they thought they would be interested in. Marek?
You've answered it all. You're the expert of for the over here.
No, thank you. I think that that's great. And I completely agree that utilizing both those academic and general advisors to open up doors is huge. All right. At this time, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. So I think we can go ahead and conclude our presentation at this time. Tatiana and Merrick, thank you both so much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Do you want to hang here a little bit and see if we get more?
Yeah, I guess we should try to do that.
It still surprised me, the business college having such a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
pool
right.
of students.
And for whatever reason, because whenever I was looking at those results, at some universities I met that, especially when it comes down to this clustering, that especially international student athletes, they tend to go towards like engineering, neuroscience, pre-med, and stuff like that. But also when it comes down to genders, that I noticed that also female goes more towards biology, chemistry, and those type of sciences. So whenever I saw that in this particular college, it was all about, from the female side, all about engineering, that was pretty shocking. Because if somebody would tell me that it would be vice versa, right? Female would be in business and male in engineering, I would be like, well, kind of fair enough. But this was pretty much shocking for me.
Also found it's interesting because if you mentioned international student athletes, if we're looking at international student athletes, it would be reasonable to say that they would be go to business because that's what aligns the OPT, CPT with the ability to make money out of the NIL rights,
And
because
also,
that will be the business adventure.
and
The
also
communication will work too.
that would work, but also when you think about international student athletes and business, even engineering at the times, yes, why not? But majors that are able to be translated into other countries, because not many international student athletes want to stay in the country, which means if you study communication, okay, right now, be honest, like if you would study communication and come back to Russia and you would try to apply for a job and you would say that you studied communication, where would you possibly get a job besides politics?
Ooh.
Right?
I
But
also think depend on the minor because if depend what kind of minor I have, I probably could apply for the minor and bring my communication skills in because like for me, I have a major in sports management. If I have a minor in communications, that would be a very interesting combination. While I have a major in sport management and a minor in business, which also very helpful communication if we're thinking of the um, athletics or athletic as a business. But that's not always the case.
yeah, especially when we consider that whatever around sport and athletics is established in the United States, and the model that United States have is nowhere else in the world, right?
That's a
But
unique phenomenon.
also only way how I see it for international student athletes and anything athletics, anything sport, is to go with professional teams, which obviously the sports are very limited. And I'm not saying that in collegiate athletics the sports are limited, but consider how many universities we have in D1, D2, D3 together, right? So to get to professional level sports teams, it's gonna take some time. You're not gonna get the job like out of the bed, right? But definitely that gender specific clustering, that's something that I think that we should do more on.
Would like to explore it more. I also would like to explore the sport clustering because I believe there's going to be a very interesting clustering there as well. Because as you talked, the previous show found that the usual sport clustering are coming together, but if we're not looking completely in the sport clustering, we're looking only at the season. When is a season? When do they start performing? This would be interesting if that's anything there.
Speaking of, do you think that in season versus off season, what role would play when we look at the credit hours taken?
I don't know. I think there's going to be more off season than in season, if it's possible. Like, look at the basketball, which has partially fall semester and partially spring semester. They don't have a complete semester off season.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are going the exactly same direction. Even in my case, I was a spring semester athlete, which means in spring I was trying to take 4 or 5 classes, and in the fall I was trying to go all in 6, 7.
For
But
me, I kind of try to balance it to see balance them within the day, so I'm not in school all like 8 to 5. I was trying to build them in the morning, so I have a time to study. And if anybody question, we would be happy to take them.
yes,
So
please.
we're working on the research too.
But also, I at my first institution I was advised solely by athletic academic advisor,
Mhm.
and rule number one was no school on Friday because we're gonna travel so much. On the other hand, whenever I got to my second institution, I was advised by athletic academic advisor, but it had to be approved by my academic advisor. And at the second institution, nobody cared if you're going somewhere, school Friday, if you like it or no. So that alignment of working with schedule in order not to miss classes from the athletic standpoint, even if it would be clustered to certain majors, it would make sense because obviously if you are not in a class as an athlete, you're not going to get much, right? And many times you have repeatedly Thursday, Friday, sometimes even Monday, you are out. So that would make sense because some majors tend to have the option to have classes, let's say Tuesday, Thursday. And so that's why you can obtain the knowledge. Although there is an argument, if you are clustered into certain major, you may have it easier, but is it something that you're going to actually use the moment you graduate? And research shows that if student athletes are clustered two majors just to maintain, just to maintain the eligibility and having the passing grade and graduating, it has significantly negative impact on job satisfaction and overall life satisfaction post athletic career.
Which something that you just mentioned, I had when I just transferred from a community college to the university, I had a coach who picked out my classes. And in my next semester, I was given a time schedule, the times where I'm not allowed to take classes. So I had to fit all my classes within a time that was provided to me, which was separate from my practice schedule, which was actually very interesting.
Well, and then at that point, it relies just solely on communication, right?
Yep. It's how communicate and what the emphasis put on. As we talked just a little bit earlier, it's like we're looking at our athletic advisors. What are they putting emphasis on? Who is pressuring them? Are they trying to keep the students eligible? Are they trying uh, to catering to the need? Are they trying to cater to the need of the team because they need a certain GPA?
Well, one side of the coin can be the pressure. The other side of the coin can be what I said earlier. in order to not to miss as many classes because of the travel, let's put you in a major that maybe be considered as a clustering, team clustering, or athletic department clustering. But at least you're gonna be in a class, and at least you will know it because you have a chance to actually be there. Because I mean, we both were and even international student athletes. If you miss the class, how many times you ask, "Hey, what was happening in the class?" Right? Like not as often. Because why? Because the next week you travel again, so you're not gonna be there anyway. So is it going to be, or shall we consider it as pressure, but also maintaining the best interest for the athlete, so that athlete is actually in a class, even if it is clustered?
which is one of the things that the Carnegie report finds. It's
Yeah.
how do you put the athletes? Like there was highlighting that the athletes was treating as a essentially as the employees. They was treating like a part of the big business.
Well, college athlete, it starts with a contract
Yep.
that is signed up for significant amount of, or certain amount of hours, certain amount of GPA that you have to maintain for certain amount of years.
And also that you're waiving your rights to your image, name, and likeness originally. Now that's changing. And you promise to be at that university and follow the rules. If you remember right, because our pictures was be able to use they were able to use our pictures anytime they want and however they wanted to.
Guys, sorry that we are repeating ourselves. If you have any questions, please let us know in a Q&A or chat. We would like to answer it for you.
Uh, but it was interesting. It was like it was interesting to see how that work within particular colleges. And I would love to do and see more data from a variety of colleges, maybe Division 1, Division 2, the big Division 1 college, and see if we see the same trends when the student athletes just choose a particular major.
Yeah, and but this also sounds like never-ending story, right? Because even when we consider only Division 1, you can go by conference, you can go by Power 5, group of five, and then collect all the data. And that's what I'm saying, that sounds like never-ending story, which is like a lot of fun, obviously, at least for us. But
It's a lot of things to consider and research because I don't think we should be making more eligibility rules. We should not be making conclusions of what we're seeing right now without actually understanding what's happening within. Like we're reporting that we have amazing graduation rates, but graduation rate is measured in a 6 to 8 year period. And
actually,
it's measured for only athletes who started within a particular college and graduated there. So how about everybody else in between who transfer, who has to take a little bit time? Like how this works? What is going on?
yeah, this is a little bit off the topic of the presentation, but there was research done on what's reported and what's the reality in terms of graduation rates, right? And as you had said, if you take out numbers of everybody that don't graduate, who are you left with? Obviously, only with the people that graduate, because transfers don't count. Those that went pro don't count. Uh, yeah, congrats. I mean, sure, you have to be marketable, and you have to use, as a university, you have to use every opportunity to market yourself in the best way possible. But
Mhm.
that research wanted to point out on what the reality is, which means if you take out everybody that does not graduate, obviously you have 98% of graduation rate. Like, congrats, good job.
Which is kind of interesting because I was looking if it's 6 to 8 years, and we're looking at that particular time frame. Most of the athletes only eligible for 4 year scholarship. You cluster them in one group. They actually go in as a cohort,
Mhm.
essentially. They go in cohorts. They're helping each other. They're working through that. They are together. They're clustered. While when we see when the athletes allowed to spread out and choose their own majors, they choose their own opportunity, they may have to do internships, they may have to work. And while we compare those, our student athletes, to regular students, most of the students start working at this junior, senior years. Most of the student athletes still playing the game. They still participate in athletics. So how we can compare our regular students who is working, who making money, who getting experience, with our student athletes who is still participating in sport? They still very, very busy. When can they take a internship? Some sports will be a little bit easier than others, but that's clustering to put them in a program that may not require internship to graduate. Or they may have a set internship to graduate. It could be very different. So it's not completely off topic.
um, all right, guys. And any questions for us?
I guess not.
Is there a way how to contact Oksana?
Yes. What
Yeah,
do you like to do?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I would like to ask.
Yes, if you if you have finished the presentation, we are open to questions. So
I
anybody
think
who, yeah,
I think that we are even past the questions.
And even answer some.
if anybody has any questions, you can type them in chat, and if not, we can end the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Have a nice bye bye.
Bye bye.